Hey folks, Jeff here at Back to Country. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. We appreciate you watching our videos and we hope that they help you out in some way or another. Well, it is finally time to get back to work on this building. We've been putting it off long enough, taking vacations, traveling around, visiting family, everything, just having a good old time when we should have been back here getting to work. Because we got a lot of work to do. But, you know, the greatest thing about retired life, we don't have anything we got to do, so other than a few doctor's appointments here and there, dental appointments, eye vision appointments, and just getting old kind of stuff, we pretty much take it as it goes and say we're just going to roll with it. If it gets done today, it gets done today, but why do today but we can put off till tomorrow? I don't know if that's really a good idea, but we roll with it anyway. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're back to working on the electricity. So we've been running on generator now for years and years and years, but it is time to get off the generator, get off the fuel, and get connected to the grid. We chose to get connected to the grid over going solar just basically because of cost. So solar was going to cost us a minimum of $50,000 just to get started and get what we wanted. And that's enough power to run our shop, which we may have had to expand onto further down the road. We gauge this basically on looking at a system of Ambition Strikes. If you've ever seen their YouTube channel, they do some pretty cool stuff, and they've built quite a great solar system for their shop, and a lot of the cool stuff they do, and we do, I don't know, maybe not as cool, but we do some cool stuff too. And so we got some plans and power needs, etc. And in order to build a solar power system that we think would meet our needs based on what they built, 50 grand just to get started. And it, like I say, it'd probably cost us more than that in the long run because we probably would have to expand. So when we went to the power company and talked to them, $4,600. Yeah, not even close. So that's why we decided to go on the grid. Now we do have plans for solar and wind and other kinds of things as we go on down the road. Not everything we do is going to be on the grid. We're going to have, you know, wells, for example, that'll be scattered around the property, and we're not going to run power lines to every pump house. So we will have some solar water well capabilities, some maybe wind powered. We'd like to get a windmill with a, you know, pitcher type pump on it, but who knows what the future is going to bring. Lots of plans, lots of ideas. We just roll with it. So anyway, today we're working to get power panels up and start getting ready so that we can get the power company to come on in and do their part and bring the line over. So let me show you where we're at and what we're going to do, and then we're going to get to it. So here I've got all kinds of power panels stretched out here, and you know, anybody who understands electricity, the first you're going to say is, you don't need all that. And you're right. I don't need all of it. Don't have to use all of it, but I'm going to, because that's the way I want to do it. So when you do stuff DIY, you know, that's kind of a joke out there that, oh, everything DIY is either under-engineered or over-engineered. You'll find that everything I do is typically over-engineered, but there's usually a method to my madness. And you know, the only difference that it makes is money, and what the hell good is money nowadays anyways? Stuff's about worthless. So I'm going to spend my money the way I spend my money, and if that means I'm buying a bunch of extra stuff that I don't necessarily need, so be it. That's the way I'm doing it. So what do we got here? Right here we got a 200 amp outdoor power panel. And so this 200 amp panel, if I remember correctly, has about 32 slots. So that'll take a lot of breakers in there. The breaker that you already see sitting in there, you've got the main breaker at the top, which serves as an additional disconnect. And then you've got a 30 amp breaker that I threw in there, and that is going to be connected to a surge protector, which, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it and show you all that stuff. The next thing that I've got that I'm going to hang and connect is a transfer switch. Now this transfer switch also serves as a disconnect, because in the upper position it's utility, the lower position is generator, and the middle position is off. Now you can run generator, you can hook solar, you can do whatever you want. It just gives you a capability. Of course, we've got backup generator capabilities that we're building, and that's our plan for it, is to have both of our circuits on transfer switches that we can switch over to generator if we need to. And the power does go out here from time to time. Just a few months back we had a bad storm, the power was out for 5 days. So yes, we need backup power. The next thing we got is a fused disconnect. This is just a simple panel, costs about 80 bucks at Home Depot. It's a 200 amp fused disconnect, and that one, I don't know if it's required, but it's definitely recommended by the power company. The power company wants disconnects close to the meter box. So that's why we bought those. And we did buy them before we bought these transfer switches, so we could easily eliminate that fused disconnect, and we would have the power, the transfer switch could act as the disconnect, and of course we have a disconnect in the fuse panel, which is required by code. And yeah, we could do it that way, but we're going to go ahead and install all of them. Number one, because we have them, but also that gives us a lot of redundancy, that I can easily flip that switch and turn off the power to a whole circuit. Because what we've got here is we've got a 400 amp meter panel, meter base, meter box, whatever you want to call it. This is where the meter goes. And so if you notice, on the top side we have single lines for the line coming in, and on the bottom side we've got doubles, and that's for the lines going out. So it's going to be 400 amp coming in and 2 separate 200 amp lines going out. So those 200 amp lines will each connect to these disconnects, fuse disconnects, and then from the fuse disconnects we'll go into the transfer switches. Now here's my second transfer switch. That'll be on one of the other circuits. So, well, let me show you what we got next. Next we got an indoor panel, which is also a 200 amp panel, and that has 40 slots for breakers, and of course we got another 30 amp breaker in there, which will also be for the surge protector. So do we need surge protectors in both panels? No, you do not. According to the manufacturer, you only need one in your system. I don't care. We're putting in 2. Redundancy, overkill, you know, they're not that darn expensive, and I don't know how well they're going to work anyway, but we do get a lot of thunder and lightning storms, and lightning can cause power surges, and so I would rather be overprotected than underprotected. So we're putting in 1 in each circuit, and if we decide we want to put another one down the road, we'll put one somewhere else if we add a circuit, whatever. But I like overkill. So you can criticize me all you want, but that's how I'm doing it, because that's how I want it. So get over it. So this transfer switch is basically the same thing as the other one. The up position is your utility, the down position is your generator, the center position is off. So we've got single line coming in at the top for the utility, and that's again on that'll be a 200 amp leg. This is a 200 amp transfer switch. We've got a double line for our ground. We've got a double line for our generator, and then a single line for the out. So the power coming out of this box will go into the 200 amp panel on the indoor side. The double lines coming in on the generator side, what I plan to do is I plan to come out of this panel. So I'm going to have one goes in, which will be the generator to go in, and then one line that will come out, which will be the generator coming out, and that will run over to this other transfer switch and feed it. So why am I doing that way? Well, think about it. If I turn this switch to the off position, and I'm running the generator, it'll feed right through that bus block over to this panel, and I can feed my outdoor circuits. So let's say for example that I'm just running one of the small generators and I'm not really going to run that much, but what's going to be on this outdoor panel? Well, my pump house is going to run off of that panel, so that's going to pump our water up to the house. Our greenhouses are going to be connected to that panel, so that will run stuff in the greenhouse, which eventually will be an aquaponics system, which will need power to run aerators and water pumps. So we may just want to run that stuff, for example. So I could turn this transfer switch to the off position and then run the generator and still be feeding power to this other panel. Or I could turn this to the generator switch and be running power to both panels, and then I can control what I run just by turning breakers on and off. So lots of capability there, lots of redundancy. Of course, I will be able to hook up multiple generators to that, whether I run a small generator just because I need to feed a little bit of power in, or if I run this big old diesel generator, which I haven't really shown in videos yet, but I will be eventually. This is a big old 30 kilowatt diesel generator with a Yanmar diesel in it. And yeah, that's a video for another day, but lots of capability there. That'll basically run our whole system, our whole house, whatever, everything. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So now let's talk about how we're going to hang these panels. So the first panel I'm going to put up is this outdoor panel, and the reason is because I want it in a specific location. And so this panel is going to get hung first, and we're going to hang that on the outside of the building, which is your R panel. And so the R panel is this corrugated metal. So I've got a piece of it here that I'm using as a template, and then you see I've got some unistrut laying here. So I got the deep unistrut and the shallow unistrut. The shallow unistrut's going to be on the inside, the deep unistrut's going to be on the outside. And so the deep unistrut is taller than the ridges on the R panel. So we'll take a piece of that, and then I'm going to notch it out, I think, and I'm going to go over the top of one of the ridges and then down into the valley there, and that's how we'll mount it. And then we're going to run bolts literally through the unistrut, through the wall, through the spray foam, and into the shallow unistrut. And then we'll bolt that together basically, and that unistrut will be up against the foam on the inside. That'll give us plenty of support. We're going to of course caulk it and everything else to make sure we don't get any water seepage through the hole that we're going to make. And that's going to allow us, I think, to minimize the amount of holes we need to make to hang this. So we'll only drill 2 holes per strut, and those 2 holes will hold it more than steady. And with it notched and everything, that'll give us the ability to support the whole thing with minimal holes. So first thing we got to do is cut some pieces of unistrut. So let's get on that. All right, so I'm over here. We've got our Evolution chop saw set up. And we still love this saw. This sucker cuts great. I've got a piece of unistrut already set in there, so I just need to get it ready to cut. All right, so I've got our blade lined up with my line that I've drawn. It's 14-inch piece, and now we're going to make the cut, and you can watch how smooth this baby cuts. Here we go. Man, that is sweet. Perfect cut, not even warm to the touch. That's nice. Don't get any better than that. And now we've got a perfect piece of unistrut ready to go. All right, so here's our challenge. So we've got a 14-inch piece of unistrut, and that matches up to the power panel, which is 14 inches wide. So these gaps here from center to center on the peaks is 12 inches wide. If you see here, 14 inches goes beyond the peak of each one. So we can't fit it in between two peaks, which means you either have to do a piece here and a piece on the other side in order to match up to the holes where you're going to mount your panel, or you have to come up with something else. So what I'm thinking to do is to center it like that so that my holes will be on each end of the unistrut, and that'll allow me to just drill 2 holes so that I can secure that. If I did a piece here and a piece there, in theory, either I risk that this wants to swivel on one bolt, or I would need to put 2 bolts in each one to secure it good, and that would mean 4 holes. I don't want 4 holes. So if I put this piece up against there, you can see that the unistrut is taller than the R panel. And so my plan is to mark off the ridge of the R panel, kind of centered on that piece, and then I got to figure out how I'm going to cut that out. I don't know if I'm going to cut it out with, I'm not really sure yet. I mean, I could like do the notch with a cut off saw, you know, a abrasive disc cut off, but then I still got that ridge piece at the top, so I'm kind of thinking about using the plasma cutter to do that, just because that may be the easiest route to take. But if I center that, you can see I've still got a good space there, so there's a good piece of steel, and this curls over, which gives me a good piece of steel. You can see there that those ridges are above the R panel, so that's a good piece of strong steel that will hold it together solid and allow me to do that. So if I just notch that out at the center, then hopefully it'll sit down on top of here. I put a bolt in each end, and it's a good solid piece that I can mount those panels on, and I only have to make 2 holes through the outside panel and the you know what I'm saying, the outside panel and the foam, spray foam. So there, that's the plan. Of course, I just noticed that I do have to compensate for that ridge as well, because it's going to sit up on top of that. So if I just cut it flat, then I'm going to be high with a gap, and I'd rather leave more steel than less. So that's another challenge that I'm going to have to work out here, but we'll get it. Where there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a plan. All right, so I just grabbed a piece of scrap steel. You can see that's about, I don't know if that's 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever it is. But it lines up pretty good. If I push it down, yeah, there's an extra space there, but if I don't push down on it, it sits almost perfect to line up. So that's what I will do. Just let that sit perfect like that. Put our unistrut on top of that, and there we got our spacer, and that should be pretty darn close, so that once we do our cut, hopefully this will sit flush on top of there and mount up just perfect and give us what we want. So let me do some marking and measuring. All right, just so you can see what I did here, I measured 7 inches to the center of our unistrut piece. I measured to the center of this ridge. I basically lined them up, and then I took the marker and just made the mark around the edge and that basically gives us what we're going to cut out. So again, the question is, how are we going to cut that out? I'm going to have to put some thought into that. Well, folks, it's another day. Sometimes things go my way and sometimes they don't. So I was trying to figure out a good way to cut that steel without messing it all up. And I tried a bunch of different saws and stuff, but I really just didn't have anything that would make the cuts the way I wanted to make them because of the angles. I tried a scroll saw and or a jigsaw, I mean not a scroll saw, a jigsaw. Didn't have a blade long enough to really make that work, and everything else, the blades are just too big. So I decided, well, I guess I'll use the plasma cutter because at least I can make the angles. And it's thin steel, so it'll cut it. Might not be the prettiest cuts, but it'll work, get the job done. So I got out my plasma cutter and everything, started putting stuff together, and tried plugging it into the generator and went, oh, well, that ain't gonna work, because the generator, the little ones, only make 120 volts. They don't make 240. So then I decided, well, I guess I'll have to get my welder down, because the big welder, it's a generator too, a big diesel, and it makes 240, and it runs my plasma cutter, air compressor, whatever I need to run. So I got the telehandler out, got the generator, or the welder slash generator down, and then things kind of started going downhill from there. Let me show you. So here you can see the generator's down. Everything's good, no problem. Got her all set up, good to go. But before we ever got to that point, I mean, we had it down and then we went to put the telehandler away, and well, things didn't go my way. So I got to backing up, coming around, and I got too far over and I hit a soft spot and went over the edge. And so we're sitting half off the edge there with the tires on the lower side. And yeah, then I tried to use the forks to see if I could kind of pull myself forward while driving. Yeah, that didn't go too well, because then I busted a hydraulic hose. And it's got some old hoses on it, so I mean, that is what it is. I'll get new hoses. And yeah. So then I decided, well, I guess I need to pull it out. You can see off in the soft dirt there. So over the side, decided to pull it out. First thing I did, I went to the tractor. Womp, womp, womp. Dead batteries. And it's cold, of course. So then I got on the dozer. Womp, womp, womp. Dead batteries. And it's cold. So yeah, now I got the battery charger on the tractor, so we can try to pull this baby out. But that's how one job turns into several jobs. It just goes exponential on me. And you can see here I was cutting some grass, trying to get all these weeds out of the way. We got all this goat weed growing everywhere. I got an old mower that I've had, gosh, I mean, I bought it used in about 2008. When we got to Alaska, I needed a mower to cut my grass, and so I bought it from somebody else that was moving. Probably give 20 bucks for it, and I've had it ever since, and we've been using it up here. And so I got to mowing and everything. Well, yesterday I had to basically rebuild the carburetor and everything on this to get it to run. It ran, it was running fine. Did a lot of mowing until finally it just quit on me. And now I can turn the blade in reverse, but forward, like to pull the cord, it jams up, which means I broke something inside the motor. Possibly the crank, or, you know, connecting rod, whatever. I don't know. But it's had a good life, worked good, so I guess I'll be in the market for a new push mower now. I got some other mowers that I got to rebuild, get running again. I haven't used them in years, and they've been sitting out in the weather rusting away. So you know, good mowers, they just need work like everything else I got. So yeah, that's how a simple job turns into all kind of jobs. No matter what I do, I'm always breaking and fixing stuff, just the way it goes. So here's my cutout piece. Like I say, it's not a perfect smooth cut because I am not that great with the plasma cutter, and I don't know, I'm just not smooth enough to move like a plasma table. But you know, we do what we can. And so there's what the pieces look like sitting on our piece of R panel. So that's basically the plan, is these will bolt through the wall, and we'll just have that flat pieces there on the back side, and they'll sandwich together, and that'll hold them. And then you got like spring locks that go into this, and those bolts will go through the panel to lock it to the building. So we've at least got our pieces cut and our theory of how we're gonna do it. So once we get some of this other stuff done, I guess we'll get back to it and figure out our measurements and exactly where it's gonna go, and we'll get on her. All right, so we got the telehandler pulled out with the tractor. We're all good there. And I've got all my brackets cut. So didn't film it, not much excitement. That saw cuts through them brackets pretty much like butter, stick of wood, whatever. It just not knocking them off. And so here's the product, all the brackets stacked there. I got the small ones for the inside and the tall ones for the outside, and that'll basically sandwich together between the tin and the foam, and we'll be good to go. So I'm not going to cut the rib inlets on these until I'm ready to place them, because you know, we need to measure things and make sure that we get everything right. And if I cut them ahead of time and then it doesn't fit right, one's too close to the other, then I literally have to move it over another 12 inches, and I don't want to be forced to do that. So we'll cut them as we go as far as the plasma cutter and the ribs go. So that one will be first. We'll hang that up tomorrow. Well folks, thanks for sticking with us through another video. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us so you'll get notified next time we get a video up, as we get episode 2 of these shenanigans out there and get these panels hung up and keep on making progress. Till the next time, appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. See you on the next one.